Hello, everybody. Road Warriors 627 here, and welcome back to another racing preview here on my channel. But it's actually the first one of the year, and it's already the later part of March, but I've been a little bit busy, so it's finally time to start getting back into things, but hopefully things will start taking off soon. This is the first preview since I did that one aqueduct on New Year's Eve, but we've had that Belmont video, and we've had 4 episodes of One Turn Route, and I'd like to continue that series soon as well. Now, also, I want to make one more announcement before we begin. I'm going to be publishing an editorial on Twitter this week. Not really publishing, just writing. And it's going to be about, obviously, what I'm most pissed off about right now, being that Belmont's closed. I don't know whether to blame the state, the governor, or both, but I may as well attack both of them. So you can read that short little editorial that's coming out this Saturday, the same day as the 2 races we're going to preview today. Those are the Fairgrounds Oaks and the Louisiana Derby, races 13 and 14 at Fairgrounds on Saturday, March the 20th. Let's introduce today's guests. We're going to start with Sketchy the Horse Guy, otherwise known as Nathan. Say hi.
Hola.
We've got Jack Sargent of Racing Rundown, who will soon be recording and unleashing his 100th Racing Rundown podcast. Congratulations, Jack.
Thank you for the congratulations. Glad to be here. I'm very excited for that milestone. I did not expect that we were going to get this far in Racing Rundown, but very excited for that, and also very excited to be here.
Excellent. And of course, the wonder kid of horse racing himself, my usual partner in crime, Sammy Roseman.
Hello.
Okay. So we are going to discuss these 2 races. We're going to let everybody have their say. I don't have much to say just because I wasn't very enthused by either of these 2 races. We're going to start with Jack, then Nathan, then Sammy, and then I'll finish up the discussions. Let's start with race number 13, the Fairgrounds Oaks. Take it away, Jack.
So looking at this race, this is obviously the first 100-point race for the Kentucky Oaks. The disappointing thing about the Kentucky Oaks this year is it doesn't really look like it's going to be that talented. There's been a lot of horses that haven't really come back from their form that they showed at 2. And overall, some of the 3-year-old fillies this year have been kind of underwhelming. And so really, right now, you have the de facto favorite for the Kentucky Oaks, Clairiere, in this race. You also have Travel Calm, who is one of the few 2-year-old fillies from last year that has come back to maintain some kind of the form that she had as a 2-year-old. Outside of those two, I have a preview over on my channel. It's not uploaded yet as of this point, but it will be at some point. I couldn't find a way to go around these other 2, and I'm not someone who's usually out there. When value's there, I'll take it, but this particular race doesn't really have too much value, so it ended up for me to have to go back to Travel Calm and Clairiere, and it was something that I had a really hard time deciding between which one of these 2, because Clairiere is a horse who I will 100% be taking forward out of this race, because I think Clairiere, all signs point to her wanting to go much longer. I think she'll love that 1 1/8 that she's going to get in the Kentucky Oaks. She would be a very strong pick if I had to pick a Kentucky Oaks winner today, and she was the horse I ultimately settled on. I'm not saying that I would pick her, but if she was the one that I settled on, I would be very confident in her. Travel Calm, I think it's not that she isn't going to be able to go the distance, but at this race, 1 1/16, they're running the same distance that they've run their last 2 stakes races against each other, going back to last November in the Goldenrod and the Rachel Alexandra. Travel Calm needed the race last time. There was a questionable ride by Florent Giroux. I expect her to bounce back and run better, and she really didn't do that bad. So to say it runs better kind of sounds a little bit disingenuous to her. But at the end of the day, this was really hard. I went with Clairiere just because I think she is the stronger form as of now. When she lost to Travel Calm, it was her second career start first start out of a maiden race just about a month after that. And I think Rachel Alexander showed that she's matured a lot more, and I think she's going to continue that. And she's obviously won over the surface. So I ultimately settled with Clairiere, but it was a really tough call between those 2.
Okay, Nathan?
You definitely went into way more detail than I would have, but I'll definitely say this. One interesting thing I noticed is that in their 2 feuds, the Goldenrod and the Rachel Alexandra, the winner of those races was the one who went to who I believe If I'll check again. I believe it was either the one that was the closer or the one that was up front. But either way, it was just that the reason why one lost, or maybe not the reason, but the thing that happened was, okay, yeah, here we go. The winner was the one who came from behind, and the horse who went to the lead was screwed and would be run down. In the Goldenrod, it was Clairiere, who was slightly ahead of Travel Column. Like, she was in the lead while Travel Column was fourth in the Goldenrod. And then when they hit the wire, it was Travel Column the winner. But then in the Rachel Alexandra, like, Clairiere was like way behind in eighth, behind Travel Column, but she won that time. So, weird coincidence. Maybe it'll be the one who goes the furthest back. But also, I do like Jack's point where it's like, it seems like Clairiere, was it? You know, she's developing. So this could be a sign that she's taking over and she's going to be the big one.
Sammy?
In this race, I agree. I think it's just a two-horse race. I think the horses can get underneath and money, but like Travel Column and Clairiere. I remember I picked Travel Column last time, but Clairiere got her at the end. Florent Giroux, it was an okay ride. I want to blame the loss on him for that. It's a tough matchup here between the two. I've been saying for a while, I think these are the two best fillies in the country. I know people won't agree with me, but I think they're the two best 3-year-olds for the fillies. But I actually went on with Travel Column again, just because I picked her last time, and I think she could turn the table on her this time.
All right, I'm going to disagree with everything all you guys just said for the simple fact that I'm trying to make money. These horses can run 1-2 around the racetrack. I really don't care. Oh, well, that's not what's going to happen, but finish first and second, you'll get your short exacta. That can very well happen. I'm going to try and make some money in this race because I'm definitely not betting Aqueduct just because I'm pissed off at NYRA. So I'm going to try and bet. Maybe I will try and bet something else here. Assman and Cox, they can win. I'm going to try and make money with the Ortiz brothers in this race. I like Pletcher's horse on the rail, Zahel, whatever you want to call the horse's name. 2 starts, relatively weak fields. One was a grade 3, the other was a maiden 50. Those were both sprints as well. I'm not really worried about Pletcher stretching out, though. 27% switching to the routes. Not a bad ROI, really, all things considered, considering it's Pletcher. Workouts haven't been that sharp, but I'm going to get 8-1 on Pletcher and IRAD, and I think that's going to stick. Good inside post. All the money's going to be flooding into the 2 horses that have mainly been mentioned. Another horse I want to use is the 5. Bill Mott. Bill Mott's good with the ladies. Long good history of Bill Mott with the fillies and mares, and definitely with 3-year-old fillies. Off a performance at Belmont. Came back off a 4-month layoff at Gulfstream trying a mile and won pretty nice. Improved her figure 21 points. This is what Bill Mott does. Doesn't make the horse do everything that he or she has to do in the first start and tries to improve second time. And this horse really improved. Was kind of moved into the race during a pace that really wasn't that slow, which was pretty impressive, and then drew off and won by 2.5. You get Jose. Ira and Jose, obviously, they don't ride at fairgrounds, but you could do a lot worse. As much as I like to hate on them, I think this is the way you might be able to make money in here. So I'm going to box the 1 and the 5 in here. I'm going to box Mott and Pletcher. I'm going to play them both to win as well. And then I'm going to play a small 50-cent triple with these 2 horses and Tom Amos's horse, Little Tootsie, who's the 4. You're going to get Saez on. This horse has not been shown to go to the lead in the past. We'll see what Louis does. His first time he's riding this horse today, so we'll see if he changes tactics here. I love Tom Amos in route races and with 3-year-olds in general, whether they're male or female, but obviously the job he did with Serengeti Empress in 2019 was spectacular. So I think that's a way you can maybe make some money in this race, to just see if the two favorites that just don't show up. I gave out $9 worth of tickets here. So what? You lose $9, but if any of those bets hit, you're going to get paid. So that's what I'm going to try and do. But everything you guys said was completely correct. I'm just trying to do something else.
Andrew, what your point on Zagel too is she beat Whole Bodemeister in that one race last time, that she came back to win that race by like 10 lengths last time.
The Devonadale?
Yeah. And you get Irad. Irad has been winning like 5 races a day now. So I think that's a pretty good price for that horse.
Yeah, I was surprised to see. I know a lot of people don't like handicapping races with the morning line. They like doing it without it. I like playing the races with the morning line, personally, because sometimes I get a little bit of a surprise. But we'll see if it sticks. I think it will, because the money's going to flood in on two favorites.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, well, now we're going to stretch out to the mile and 3/16 of the Louisiana Derby for 3-year-old colts. And Jack, what do you have in here?
Are we running through all the horses 1 through 8, or are we just
No. Don't worry about it.
All right. Okay, so looking at this race, this is another one. The races at the fairgrounds this weekend were very chalky and very focused on the previous race of the respective division. The Rachel Alexander for the fillies and the Risen Star for the colts. And really, the 3 horses that loom the largest in here are the 3 that are coming out of the 1, 2, 3 finishes in the Risen Star Stakes. So that being, in order from the Risen Star, Mandaloon, Proxy, and Midnight Bourbon. Midnight Bourbon was the winner of the Lecomte Stakes earlier on in this year, and Mandaloon got the job done against him in the Risen Star. Proxy's been second in both those races. Proxy's a really consistent 3-year-old for trainer Mike Stidham. He's never been worse than second in 5 career starts, and he's the horse that I've been saying. And I said this on my show before, that every single year when you're on the Kentucky Derby Trail, you always have a horse that is running second in some of these major prep races. And you make the comment about that horse, the next start is going to be when he gets the distance he's going to want to go. He's going to want to go longer every single race on from a second place finish in it. And I feel like that this is the horse that I'm going to be spending the whole summer saying that about. I'm nervous that Proxy got beat on the spot in the Risen Star. I can't really find a reason why he didn't get by Mandaloon in that race. He had every chance to get by, but I am going to hedge my bet on the fact that he is getting out to a mile and 3/16. He's by Tappet out of a mare who is a grade 1 winner going a mile and a quarter. So that pedigree says all distant. But Mandaloon was really hard for me to pass up in here. If I didn't make a commitment to myself that I was going to pick Proxy out of the Risen Star, I probably may have taken Mandaloon. But outside of those two, another horse that a lot of people are probably going to look to is Hot Rod Charlie, who is relatively consistent for his career. Doug O'Neill tends to do this with horses that show up in a stake race, not always a Breeders' Cup race, but show up in a stake race, run so much better than their odds were. And that horse, for some reason, has always figured it out, at least to be able to be competitive in stakes races. And Hot Rod Charlie followed up that second in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile with a good third in the Bob Lewis. But I don't think Hot Rod Charlie's a win contender. If anything, he's going to run a good 3rd or 4th place finish. He's going to have to run very much better than he did in the Bob Lewis to win this race. And outside of the horses coming from stakes races, I think the one that's the most interesting to me is Run Classic. So if you're trying to beat favorites in here, I would advise to go with Run Classic. This is a horse who's coming out of a mile and a 16th maiden race. He was beaten on debut going 6 furlongs, and he's the son of Run Happy, which you'd think a Run Happy horse, Run Happy offspring that speaks to sprinting. That's not necessarily been the case with Run Happy horses. Run Happy's offspring have tended to have a desire to go longer, and you've seen that a lot with some of them, that when they turn out, they tend to run better races. And that's what this horse did. He got beat in a 6 furlong maiden race by a horse who has been very good at 6 furlongs and sprint distances in Blameworthy. So the back class is definitely there from his loss. And I think, this is an example of, if you're trying to beat favorites, he could be the horse you go with. I would not advise trying to beat the favorites in here if you're just looking to make something. But if you're looking to make a good return on investment, Run Classic may be the horse for you. But in terms of the actual like serious picking the race and not trying to find value, I wound up on Proxy in here.
Mr. Sketchy?
Hello. I think for on the Run Happy thing, I think it's ironic that like his sons like to go longer, because when they tried to go longer with Run Happy, he did absolutely awful. Like, I've never seen such a bigger fall from grace, except maybe Arrogate when it came to Run Happy, and that's why and even then, like in his sprinting career, he had a pretty good, 2014 season, but like, why is his name everywhere? He's the Raid Shadow Legends of horse racing, and I don't think he deserves it. But rant aside, when it comes to actual horses here, I'm a chalk picker. So Midnight Bourbon, Proxy, and Mandaloon have been trading the top 3 spots the last 2 races. I don't see anything different going here. Proxy's the middleman, and Midnight Bourbon and Mandaloon have swapped first and I believe third. It's really down to them, but I kind of like Mandaloon a bit better, because the Lecomte winner usually doesn't win Louisiana Derby. Usually it's like the Risen Star Louisiana Derby double. Although there are exceptions, obviously. And Proxy, I like that guy. He's a good, consistent horse who shows up everywhere.
Sammy?
The thing when I was looking at this race that interested me the most was Proxy getting blinkers, which is I think is a good sign, because maybe he was like getting like a little off track in that race last time, and now you're gonna get the blinkers to make sure he's focused. And I think he can run huge here. But Mandaloon, he just the way he fought off all those horses, especially with Proxy running like that, was pretty impressive. And I think he's gonna like the distance too. In a Lecomte, I think the mile and a 16th was just a little bit too short. He was gaining ground, and then he kind of faded, but he still made up some ground. But he's a good horse too, and I think this is a solid race. What Jack said with Run Classic, I think this horse, especially Brett Calhoun, always runs big in these races. I don't know what it is, and he'll run big at a price with Run Classic is. And Brian Hernandez Jr., he's pretty good off. I mean, he's pretty good sitting off the pace. That's where he's best at, in my opinion, as a jockey. And I think this horse could pick up a piece at third. Another horse, I think, the horse that's going to go to the lead is Right and Just, in my opinion. I just don't think he's fast enough to keep up. I end up picking Mandaloon here again. I just think he's going to like the distance, and I just think he's a little bit better than Proxy. Proxy I have second, and I'm going to go Run Classic third, and I think Midnight Bourbon's going to pick up fourth in this race, a fading fourth.
If I can add something on to Mandaloon before Andrew goes, one other thing with Mandaloon is it's very weird for me to be so enthusiastic about picking or so enthusiastic about an Into Mischief horse going past a mile and a quarter, or going past a mile and an eighth, because until Authentic last year, no Into Mischief had won a stake race going past a mile and an eighth on any dirt track in the country. It had been done once before Authentic, and that was a horse who won a mile and a half turf stake at Gulfstream. But the thing with Mandaloon is when there's some things like this where the sire may be a little bit iffy in terms of whether or not the horse can get the distance, the dam is usually what it ends up being the thing that puts it over whether or not the horse can do that. Now, Authentic was very sprinty, which is why myself and many people doubted he was going to be able to go the longer distances. Not so the case with Mandaloon. He's out of an Empire Maker mare who, if I'm not mistaken, had some good runs in some stakes races. So this is a horse who is screaming distance with him on the dam side by Empire Maker, out of a mare who was a multiple group stakes winner over in Europe, specifically Ireland. So I really like to see that. If you go back further in the pedigree on the dam side, you get to see Dan Silly, who is a really good European sire. So there's tons of distance with Mandaloon in here. So if you're concerned about the Into Mischief thing, don't really read too much into that, because on the dam side, there's tons of stamina in there.
Okay, well, I'm going to get started here. I think that was very good insight, Jack. I'm glad you brought that up, by the way. As in the last race, I tried to beat the favorites. I really don't see a way to do it here. I think the triple from the Risen Star could very well repeat itself, but I'm going to try and move the numbers around a little bit. I do really like Proxy in this race. I really don't think that there's much difference between Proxy, Midnight Bourbon, and Mandaloun. Might be a little bit better than them, but when you talk about price, Proxy is going to be a bigger price than Mandaloun, obviously. And could the Ass Man take the money? I really don't know about these odds. I wonder if maybe they go off about the same, the 4 and the 7 in here, instead of being 7-2 and 5-1 as the morning line says, because Asmussen always sucks up a lot of money. So I wonder if you get a slightly better price on Proxy. Also, I think Proxy, while they all got decent trips last time, they were all a little wide. I think Proxy had the worst one out of all of them watching the race. So I'm going to play $4 to win on Proxy in here, put him on top. I'm going to put Mandaloun second, and then Midnight Bourbon the 7 in third. I'll play $1 to win on the 7 just as a saver in case he stays at 5-1. I get my money back for the bet on Proxy. And then just a simple dollar exacta box with the 3 of them. So that's $11 worth of action, and that's $20 total for the 2 races today. One thing I want to bring up, I do not want Hot Rod Charlie in here whatsoever. Now, I don't know.
Trainer?
Leandro.
That must be Doug's
Mora.
assistant because
Assistant,
didn't Doug,
right?
Didn't he get suspended for like a
yeah,
something?
Whatever. The point is, I think the last 2 races are about as dressed up as a horse could get. The Breeders' Cup Juvenile, that race fell apart. Look at that. Look at those fractions. It's amazing what Jackie's Warrior did. I still think that was an incredible performance. And this horse at 94-1 got a hell of a setup to come and get second money. And then the last race, you think the last race looks pretty good. Finished third by a neck. The speed figure regressed. But look at when this horse moved up. In the middle portion of the race. That's when the fractions really slowed down. And they ran a mile and a 16th. Now, granted, this is at Santa Anita where all kinds of bad shit is going on. In 146-1. I don't want anybody out of that race. It just disgusts me.
I mean, the winner was like Medina Spirit was like a side hoe of Baffert's.
Yeah.
Since Life is just the big guy.
I don't want anybody out of there. So I'm going to stick with the 3 horses that have been running at fairgrounds. The bets that I already said. If Hot Rod Charlie wins, you can crucify me. That's okay. I'll take that one. But at least I'll still have my dignity. Okay, that's pretty much all we have that we prepared for today. Does anybody else have any comments about this weekend's action or things going on in racing in general?
Actually, I was gonna say something about like Dubai World Cup because like I have all the lists of the U.S. horses that are running in it. If anybody wants to hear it,
I forget. Mistress is in the Shima Classic, right?
It's 20 horses so far for U.S. Let's see. Let me look at it. It's Title Ready, By My Standards, Sleepy Eyes Todd, Jesus' Team, Mystic Guide, Channel Maker Yapon, Wildman
It's
Jack,
Yopon.
Logano, Extravagant Kid, Mr. Freeze, Avant Grand, Cowan, Tadouij, Alexandra, Snapper Sinclair, Jalen Journey, Zenden, Ambivalent, and Parsimony.
A couple of those sound all right, but some of them not so much. Is Cohen's going in the UAE Derby, isn't he?
No.
No, he's running the Alquaz. Cowan is a turf sprinter all the way.
That's a good spot.
Which is it's pretty impressive. Like, correct me if I'm wrong. He was second in the Saudi Derby on the dirt.
Yeah, but that was a 1-turn mile. He that's about as far as he's going to go as a mile.
Fair enough, but I mean, it was still a good race. I considering his second in the Smarty Jones and then his second in the Saudi Derby. He has the ability to be a dirt horse, but I guess his real call. I don't know. Everywhere he goes, he seems to be just shy. 5 seconds from 8 starts.
Well, he's by Cantharos, and if anybody was a fan of World of Trouble, World of Trouble could do anything when it came to sprinting, whether it was on the dirt
I guess Cohen
or
can
on
too.
the turf. Well, that's what Cowan's by Cantharos also. So Cantharos horses, there's some question. There's some suspects obviously with what was in World of Trouble's system because he was a service trainee, and the other really good Cantharos horse was XY Jet. So we know that those two horses had Jason Service and Jorge Navarro, two of the worst trainers in the game in terms of medication and stuff they were doing. But Cantharos, his sons and daughters have been able to do pretty well on whatever surface they run. So that's
maybe Cohen can finally help Cantharos get a clean horse, a clean star.
Do you think Colonel Liam wins the Muniz?
I was going to add something. I was going to add something about Colonel Liam. Colonel Liam's running in the Muniz Memorial. That's something that's very exciting to see. The male turf division on the East Coast has been relatively weak for the past few years, even though the races are exciting because it's all the same horses, and usually you get a different horse winning it every single time. But there's going to be some really, really big names running this year, and Colonel Liam is going to be right up there with those big names. You got Gaffo, the Christophe Clement horse, who was the Belmont Derby winner, ran a super good race in the Hollywood Derby, his most recent start. Chad's horse, who won that Hollywood Derby, Colonel Liam, is going to be the third string of this. He won the Pegasus Turf. He was a really improving horse toward the end of 2020. Good win in the Tropical Park Derby. Really good win in the Pegasus Turf. He's going to try to follow the bricks and mortar campaign. Next start following the Muniz is going to be the Turf Classic on Derby Day.
I mean, he may not be bricks and mortar, but he's still pretty good.
Yeah, no, I mean he's following the bricks and mortar. He's following the bricks and mortar campaign. That's what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like Muniz and then something.
But he's this is exactly the type of distance he wants to go. He may be a little bit challenged when it comes to distance, getting some of those mile and a quarter, mile and a half races. But these kind of races is exactly what he wants to do. He can go. He's cutting back out of this, but I'm not concerned at all because he ran super well in the Tropical Park Derby. So I fully expect him to win this race. I was a big proponent of Factor This last year, but Factor This has not faced a horse or has not won a race where he's faced a horse as good as Colonel Liam. So I fully expect Factor This to win this race, and I fully expect him to be one of the in that triumvirate of really, really good 4-year-old turf males up in New York.
There's really good potential this year, and races like the Man of War, the Manhattan Handicap, we're going to have some good races. Especially,
this is going to be a spicy year.
Hopefully the Manhattan is good because I'll be there for it. So
hopefully.
That's one of my favorite races every year is the Manhattan. Also featured the best win of my life, the race before Justified won, of course.
Also, but
wait, hang on, who won in 2018?
Spring Quality.
That guy?
That was the biggest win I ever had. Biggest ticket I ever cashed.
You know what the biggest one I ever had was? Well, it was actually at Saudi Arabia, I think. Yeah. I think I had like a 45-1 long shot, I think. First one, I think.
I forget which one was the 45-1 shot.
It was the other Godolphin in the Red Sea Turf. I can't remember the name of it, but it was the other Godolphin horse in the Red Sea Turf. The Red Sea Turf. It was the marathon race.
I think it was like
the one.
Gold.
I know what you're talking about. But I'll find him.
Gold. That was the name of the horse, Gips of Gold.
Yeah, that guy.
I forget why I liked him. I think he was. No, because he was running the similar time form numbers to like the big horses, right? And he just fit the name of horse that would win this race, so I just took a shot.
As well, yeah. You got your win in the You got your big win in the Red Sea, and I got my surprise win with Mishrif.
Yeah, but I don't think it's a cakewalk for Colonel Liam. I think there's some good horses in this race. Like, if you look at it.
One thing I wonder is how come Liam's Map has such a good turf star when Liam's Map was such a big dirt horse?
No, but logical myth. This horse loves fairgrounds, and he's the cleanest trainer in the world. Joe Sharp is clean.
And I'm gonna look up Colonel Liam's dam just so I make myself look stupid.
But he's 5 for 7 at this track, like, and then you have. I mean, I fully expect him to win, but like, I just think there's some challenge, like spooky
Nathan, to answer your question, not to cut you off, Sammy, but to answer Nathan's question, the reason why Colonel Liam is doing pretty well on the turf is because his dam was by Bernardini out of Wonder Again. Wonder Again was a really good mare on the grass up in New York. Andrew might appreciate Wonder Again because she was a really good mare in New York.
Oh yeah,
And she had her
and-
own. She had her, but she had, and she got her own race. In
Yeah,
she
Keeneland.
still does.
So that's why he's taken so well to the turf. It's not so that's one of the things. It's not so much that's why the sire doesn't tell the whole story. See, kind of the same deal as it was with Mandaloon.
Fair enough. Yeah, like it's more the mother that really matters, or the mother's family. Like there's like a million horses that have the same father.
Yeah.
It's a good point.
More point because there is one other graded stake on this card. It's the New Orleans Classic. This race is kind of weak. None of these horses are really any top contenders in the Breeders' Cup Classic or the Handicap division, if you want to call that not as Breeders' Cup focused. None of them are really any top names. There's none of the big name, not even anyone like Maxfield, who isn't a Grade 1 horse anymore, but Maxfield would be able to have some fun with this kind of group. It just boils down to this is a group of horses that are running.
This is the B group. This is the B group.
That's entirely accurate. This is a group of horses that have been running well, not debatably well in some cases. I give some of the horses in this race a lot more credit than maybe other people would. Sonneman's probably going to be the favorite because he's been the horse who's been second twice behind Maxfield. But Sonneman has run good races in his career. His fifth in the Alan Jerkins was not bad. His fifth in the Pat Day Mile was terrific. His second in the Pat Day Mile was terrific. I thought that was a lot better. That's a race that doesn't get a lot of credit to it, but he's been overall consistent in his career after that poor debut performance. And he's never a horse who's going to win one of these big Grade 1 level races or against a horse who Maxfield isn't a Grade 1 horse, but Maxfield definitely has the run when he runs against this kind of competition. But in a wide open race, I really do like Sonneman to break through in here.
Sonneman looks all right. One kind of risky choice though is like Roadster after a year. Like you never know. What if like for some reason this 1 year turned him into like a rock star or something? But that's like my wild conspiracy.
I'm optimistic that Mike Stidham can turn him around because this horse was a Grade 1 winner in multiple stakes placed in the Bob Baffert barn, and I don't want to take anything away from Bob Baffert's talent as a trainer, but he was kind of
juice.
No, I'm not talking about that. But this horse was overall consistent with Bob Baffert, but at a point he got to be the third horse in the Baffert barn. I don't want to say that Bob Baffert like kind of throws some of his lesser horses down the shaft, but this could just be an example of Michael Stidham. I already praised him earlier with Proxy. I'm optimistic that Michael Stidham can turn this horse around because there's obviously talent there. He was able to win the Santa Anita Derby against a 2-year-old champion. Very bad race in the Kentucky Derby. He was one of those fool's gold favorites. I don't think he's a top-level horse, but I think Mike Stidham can turn him around to at least be a decent horse in graded stakes competition.
I think I might as well take a risk because, like, you have Sonneman, who's definitely the safest bet. Owendale's not so great. Like, he's like a Tacitus.
I think I know who I like.
Owendale's like a Tacitus. There's so many races that he could have won, but he didn't. So I'm gonna risk it all. Not risk it all, but just like take a risk. Let's just go with Roadster. I'm going with Roadster.
You know, I'm gonna pick in this race after looking at it. I'm gonna pick Ali, my boy.
Ollie, my boy.
Yep.
I haven't even looked at him. Oh, 2 for 2. Not bad.
He's 2 for 2 at the track, right? He's improving by start. What I like to look in horses is improving. He
beat Plus Coupafe, the UAE Derby winner.
That's no win. It's a fluke.
Plus Coupafe sucks.
But the UAE Derby is gonna be good this year. Well, when Panadol wins that race by 20, then we'll know.
Okay, Panadol is not going to win the UAE Derby by 20.
He's not a Mendelssohn.
But he is a good horse. No,
Guess
but
so.
but what really strikes me on this horse is Irad picks up the mount, and he didn't even bat on all weather, but I just think the dirt's his surface, and he's 2 for 2 when he's at the dirt level. And now he gets Irad in a race that's not really good. The winner of this race is running in Dubai. If By My Standards was running in this race, he would win. But
yeah, no, that's a fair analysis. This is a race that that lacks a top contender. And if
Mhm.
there was a top contender in this race, and I've been saying Maxfield a lot, I never really bought too much into Maxfield coming back off of the layoff that he had and the injuries that he's had in his career. But Maxfield would absolutely beat this group. But absent a true top contender, this race is wide open and any one of these horses can win it.
No, but with Maxfield, actually, like, I remember, like, going through that race, right? And I'll give you credit on this, Jack, right? Every time I would look at Idol and I would see he back up, I would keep remembering that you kept telling me this horse is just going to love 12 furlongs. He's going to love 12 furlongs.
You mean 10
Or
furlongs?
10 furlongs. 10 furlongs. 10
furlongs.
furlongs. My bad. Sorry. Mile and a quarter. You just kept saying he's going to love this distance. And he backed up in his race, but I just had some kind of gut, especially with Joel Rosario, which you don't know what you're going to get. But he's a fantastic rider. You just don't know what you're going to get. And he's a pretty good horse, Idol. He's a weird horse. He debuted so late. I remember him because he was on that Derby day card. He was like 6-1 for Baltus.
And he was running in a sprint on that Derby Day debut.
He ran second.
And for him to run second in a sprint with his kind of pedigree is kind of remarkable. Idol is a horse. If we're going to talk about some of the brief rundown of a couple of the divisions, because that's kind of what the remainder of this has turned into, is Idol. There's some really good horses on the top. In this, Charlatan is obviously one that everyone's going to be talking about. I'm hesitant about Charlatan going past a mile and a quarter, but it's also Bob Baffert with a really, really good horse like Charlatan. I was very skeptical of Improbable being able to win a race like the Hollywood Gold Cup and on races on the Classic division. But at the end of the day, he was able to have a really good campaign. I think I'm skeptical about Charlatan, but I think he'll be able to win some races. But Idol, if Charlatan doesn't come out to the West Coast, and it's a possibility that he'll run in a race like the Met Mile, which would be really fun to see because he would love a one-turn mile. But if there's a black hole on the West Coast in those mile and a quarter races like the Hollywood Gold Cup and then afterwards the Pacific Classic, Idol's going to run those divisions because Idol loves 10 furlongs. And he may not be a Breeders' Cup Classic winner. I don't think he's going to be a Breeders' Cup Classic winner or I don't want to say top contender because that might give the sense that I'm not thinking he's a good horse. He just won a Grade 1 race. Why would you say that he's not able to win a race like that? But we have to see how it develops. We haven't even seen the best of 3-year-olds yet. So, but as of now, he's one of the top names out there. Specifically, if there's a power vacuum on the West Coast.
Please let Charlatan run on. Keep him on the West Coast. I don't want him in the Met Mile. It'd be nice to see him, but I'm gonna lose like $15-$20 on that race if he runs in the Met Mile. I kind of like
Idol in a way similar to like previous West Coast champs like Melatonin and Majestic Harbor, in that sort of sense, that type of horse. No. And
continue.
And when it comes to Charlatan, I have a personal grudge against that horse. I really don't like him. I really, really don't like him. Just it's not because I don't think he's good. It's just 100% bias. I don't like him. So I'm always going to root against him, even when he looks really good. Like, I thought that he was going to win the Saudi Cup, but I really didn't want him to win. Luckily, I got my wish.
But also with California racing, people are not going to agree with me, but I just find that racing boring. It's the 4 horses. It's like, what is it, 6 horse fields, and then you get...
You can only use the stick 6 times. Come on.
And 3 to 5 favorites, and then the stake races are 5 horse fields.
And then Baffert, and the only times you get breaks, or one of the few times you get breaks, is when Baffert runs the long way and gets one for the barn.
Yeah, I haven't seen a field over 9 in like 3 years. Besides the Breeders' Cup.
What about like the San Carlos? How many did that have? Like the San Carlos was actually like a really good race. Like
9, I think.
Yeah, so that would be about as many as you said you haven't seen in 3 years.
I will give them more props on one thing. At least I know that Santa Anita actually wants their fans back. I give them that.
Do care.
They care about the fans because they're trying to force the county to let them in, unlike one other entity is doing.
I mean, the field The field size is not going to get better with the Santa Anita Derby because it's pretty clear to everyone that Bob Baffert's going to run the show in the Santa Anita Derby. There were shenanigans that were happening in the San Felipe with Medina Spirit. A lot of people, including myself, were upset with the stunt that was pulled in that race. I'm not a big conspiracy theory person, but it's pretty obvious. It's happened before with Bob Baffert. Medina Spirit was obviously running some kind of interference there. Everyone's getting out of town because everyone knows they can't beat Life is Good. That's why Hot Rod Charlie's in New Orleans. That's why there's whispers about where Rombauer is going to end up. Roman Centurion, the Simon Callaghan horse, is going to end up in the Wood Memorial, which is going to be a very risky proposition, a Simon Callaghan horse running outside of the West Coast. But everyone's getting out because they know they're not going to be able to beat Life is Good. And you're not going to really be able to see how good Life is Good actually is. No pun intended there. Because he's very green and he's going to win a race in a walkover, essentially. And we're not going to see the real talent he has. So he's going to be the real wild card horse going into the Kentucky Derby. He doesn't look as strong as Authentic did going longer. And I say that after he's coming out of a 8-length victory in a mile and a 16th race. And a Santa Anita Derby, he's probably going to win by the same amount. He's a lot more unproven than Authentic's going to be. He may be the favorite depending on how people, if we're going to start speculating about who is going to win the Kentucky Derby and things. He may go off as the favorite because he's going to win a Santa Anita Derby in a very impressive way. I just don't know whether I feel very comfortable saying that he's going to be the most unproven horse on Derby Day.
I think Life is Good. Like, he does look a bit like Authentic. It's like when Authentic won the Sham, he was similar in that, like, he zigzagged that last quarter. And, like, Life is Good definitely didn't zigzag, but he didn't stay on the rail. And I know this sounds dumb, but what was the whole... I didn't even know Medina Spirit was a part of anything suspicious. What'd he do? I didn't look at Medina Spirit. I was just looking at Life is Good.
Medina Spirit floated the Great One wide into the first turn. It was basically another Restoring Hope situation.
Restoring Hope? Again...
Yeah.
But John Sadler has...
Is that basically where because he's the second? Is that like the thing where, like, because Medina Spirit is obviously the second horse in the race, he just makes it so even easier for...
Yeah, he cleared the speed away from Life is Good. So, like, the Great One was the other speed in that race, and he cleared the speed away, so Life is Good was just able to romp away with it. And Medina Spirit somehow still wound up running second. He it doesn't need to run... And he only needs to run fourth in the Santa Anita Derby to get in. He's going to get into the Kentucky Derby because it's going to ultimately boil down to Life is Good, Medina Spirit, and probably a random Peter Miller horse and a random Doug O'Neill horse, and that'll be your Santa Anita Derby.
No. John Sadler has a very good horse going.
So who's this horse?
Horse that ran a mile 134.
What's his name?
Rock Your
What's
World.
his name?
He's trying dirt for the first time.
What's his name?
Rock Your World. He ran 6 furlongs and 108 on the turf, and a mile on the turf in 134. So this horse got talent.
And he has talent, but he's a turf horse. You can never really know until he actually tries it.
How do you say his name? You guys talked over each other, so I didn't hear the name.
Rock
Your World.
Rock Your World.
Rock Your World. Okay.
It's not fancily spelled or anything. It's literally just Rock Your World.
No, I just couldn't hear because you guys having to talk over each other. So
I should mention everybody that everybody's going to hear this because we are still indeed recording. So remember, this is still part of the show. So I hope you're all enjoying it. We're breaking the fourth wall a little bit here, but that's okay.
Oh, is that a bad thing? Sorry if I got carried away.
No. I don't care.
We should do a live stream again.
I personally was doing this intentionally because I knew Andrew was still recording. So
good.
It's some helpful.
Look, some
helpful Derby banter.
We snuck in some more fairgrounds talk about the 11th and the 12th, and we're talking Derby. Not that I have any opinions because I don't really care about the Derby. I care more about New York turf racing, which will be back in about 3 weeks. So I'm very excited for that. That's really what I'm looking forward to. But that's anything else, guys? That you want to finish?
Should we do a live stream next week?
Don't forget, this is the 1 week I'm off. I'm gonna be busy again, pretty soon.
Oh well, if you can in the next few days before your break ends, I could do that show thingy that you wanted to do.
Yes, one turn route, everybody. We've had 4 episodes so far. It's being watched by absolutely nobody, but that's okay, because I'm still having
I'm
fun
gonna watch
doing
after
it.
this episode. I'll watch after this episode concludes.
And Nathan is going to come on and be the guest of the 5th one turn route show, and the 3rd interview I've done after the other 2 people that are here. Jack and Sammy also were on episodes 2 and 3. Then I did episode 4 was why New York racetracks should be open, but I've beaten that point to death forever for the last 4 months.
If you could say you've road killed.
Here's the thing. I think it's completely warranted. Casinos opened on September 9th. And racetracks are still closed. And racetracks are safer.
Yeah, a racetrack, an open racetrack that's literally outdoors with a bunch of chairs.
Belmont
is a bit
Park,
safer than...
everybody has their own section. Everybody could have their own section. It'd be awesome. That's one. By the way, Belmont, right? If you don't socially distance at Belmont normally, you are a fucking weird person. If you sit down next to somebody at Belmont and you don't know that person, you are weird as hell.
I had my own space with my family when I went there, so I could definitely see, like, Belmont's not that hard to socially distance, but like a casino, you're indoors. You're surrounded by people throwing slot machines and throwing dice and stuff.
It's totally fucked up. It's so
stupid.
Bad. And hopefully, all I can pray is that we get answers soon. I want answers, no matter what happens, and transparency. Alright, that's going to do it. I think we analyzed these races enough. I'll be watching them a little bit. I don't know if I'll be watching Aqueduct this weekend just because I'm so frustrated. I definitely won't be betting it, that's for sure. Anything else? Last chance to throw something in? Going once?
Mandalorian pun off of Mandaloon. Mandaloonian.
So, we're going back to the future with a horse. Okay.
So.
Okay. Alright, that's going to do it, everybody. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed our fun little banter here about these 2 3-year-old races, and then the 2 races before, and then some Derby talk, and then some yada yada yada. For Jack, for Sammy, for Nathan, I'm Road Warrior 627. Hopefully things will be picking up again soon. Regardless, thanks for watching, and good luck. And always, pay your bills first.